Though the truth is so in the art. This the living God that I serve. Made everything in a minute with a single word. If you taking care of the beast and even the birds, if it's taking care of the people, a greater worth. Don't you see our sin brought a curse? Christ redeemed us. Now I know my prayers work. Since we believe he interceded, we are soldiers in army. Our sergeant is he. Our weapons are not carnal. Yo, we start on our knees. We are a movement of the young, on fire, and we zealous for the honor of our Father that's in heaven. Bring him in my city. That's where God belongs. In my city. 'Cause you run it anyway. You run it in my city. That's where God belongs. In my city. 'Cause you run it anyway. You run it. God, I'm so unashamed. This world thinks we insane, 'cause we be living like in this life it's about Christ and the dyer's gain. We denying the fame, don't retire, we aim till our last breath to go and confess the Messiah's name. So thy kingdom come, will be done in the city till we see him in the Holy One. That's where the homie from, but I know I can't be the only one. Any believers in here, show me some. Get your hands up for the Holy Son. Fought that beating, now you know we had to beat it. Go and read it, man, we already know we won. There's power when your people were gathered just to come seek ya. Then ask for your forgiveness, admitting we truly need ya. Taking the gospel to the ends of the earth, searching for hearts, but first I think we gon' start right in my city. That's where God is.
Oh Lord, give me that God Almighty, that good old gospel, that old school doctrine. Oh Lord, give me that truth for the body. Ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power.
That church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap.
Give me that church mother in a church hat clap. Man, that sugar every color purple coming back clap. When that whole week beat you up and stress you, but you hear that organ playing and remind you of your blessings. And on another note, she just hit another note. Chills down my spine, got me crying, make me overload. You don't know about it though. Old school church hymns, deacons get the humming, now the drummer finna burst in. Lordy, Lordy, Lord, can you hear me now? Church close, sweater, you don't care, you just get it now. Testify how we made martyrs out of these fathers and rose up all of his daughters to glorify him with honor. Man, I swear Thomas Jones with her head did. Now it's flying everywhere, she don't care what her head did. She an egg, yeah, caught up in the egg, yeah. Probably why she clapping like Jesus just reappeared, yeah.
Give me that God Almighty, that good old gospel, that old school doctrine. Oh Lord, give me that truth for the body. Ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power.
That church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap.
I wanna be the type of dude to get the Lord on his feet. I wanna do the type of shows that the Lord wanna see. What I mean, if I can make the whole church clap, it ain't a clap in the heavens, then that clap just a clap, clap. Oh, it's glorified, sin mortified. The Holy Spirit going word, that truth ain't watered down. It sound doctrine, gets birthed in the common now. Nothing wrong with singing loud, but that ain't where the power's on. The church has been clapping at weak sermons, leaving the weak hurt. No one's changed by Sunday service. We need discernment, check what you be affirming, 'cause the church can be full of members but empty in conversions. Preach the gospel and stand back, look for changed lives, not for hand claps. Love people well, oh they can't stand at the church, just the church with the words, but we stand back.
Give me that God Almighty, that good old gospel, that old school doctrine. Oh Lord, give me that truth for the body. Ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power.
That church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. Church.
Welcome to our Elevate Youth Live. We are so glad that you guys were able to join us today. So I'm going to start us off with a prayer. Lord, I thank you for waking us all up this morning, and I thank you for allowing everyone to be able to come on here and learn more about you. I ask that you will bless everyone that's watching in Jesus' name. So don't forget to stay connected with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Periscope. Follow and turn the post notifications, and it's at MTZTODAY. My name is Tatiana Howell, and I'm currently a senior at James Madison High School in San Diego, California. Recently, I was watching Sister Cammie, Sister Kishana, and Brother Jason on their youth broadcast talking about identity, and it really resonated with me because I recently did a TED Talk about code switching, which relates to identity, because when code switching, you manipulate or you diversify the way in which you speak or dress when in different situations. So for example, when you're around your friends, you may talk one way. When you're around your teachers and parents, you may talk another. Code switching can also be physical. You could change the way you dress, you could change the way you do your hair in order to fit into the environment in which you're going into. So here's a clip of my TED Talk just to show you a bit of what it was about. My 5th grade year, my mom decided to move me to a whole new school district, making me leave behind everything and everyone that I once knew. I was used to people of different colors, races, and socioeconomic statuses. But you see, at my new school, they didn't have that. My new school is predominantly white. Wanting to fit into this new environment, I slowly began to adapt. I began to speak like them. However, I just couldn't seem to change my cultural identity. So one weekend, I asked my aunt to do my hair in cornrows, a hairstyle that made me feel like Beyonce. So that Saturday, I spent 8 hours getting my hair washed, blow-dried, and finally braided. At the end, the wait was worth it. My edges were slick, and my braids were laid. I was so excited for Monday to come around so I could show off my new hairdo. So at recess, I was surrounded by my friends, showing off my new hairdo so proudly, until one of the older girls came up to me with a disgusted look on her face. She picked up one of my braids saying, "Tatiana, your hair looks like shoelaces. It's so ugly," causing all the girls around me to bust out into laughter. I didn't know what to do or say. Before she came up to me, I thought I looked like Beyonce, but they thought my hair, piece of my cultural identity, looked like the dirty, ratted up laces on her shoes. So I developed this idea that my hair was ugly, that my culture was ugly, and that I was ugly. And my braids that made me feel so proud of my culture need to be taken down immediately.
It was the summer before kindergarten, and my teacher-to-be had sent home an assignment requesting that each student create a self-portrait. I love to draw, so I was immediately excited by this. I pulled out my crayons, pink for the dress, black for the hair, brown for the skin. After hours of coloring and shading, my masterpiece was finally finished. On the first day of class, I sat anxiously through rules and introductions and seat assignments, ready to present my drawing to the class. But before I could open my mouth, a little boy asked, "Why is yours brown?" "Brown is ugly." I was completely taken aback. I looked to the teacher for reassurance, but she didn't even say anything. Up until that moment, I hadn't even noticed that mine was the only brown portrait in the room. But in that moment, with them staring at me and then back at their own skin, the only thing I did notice was our differences. They were white, and I was ugly. Nonetheless, I finished my presentation, but that idea and that comment stuck with me. From that point on, I would still use the brown crayon, but I would then scrape the wax off the top to lighten the skin tone. In doing this, I was really scraping off a piece of my identity because I was told it didn't fit.
This was the first time in my life that I can remember
that I felt as if I had to strip away a piece of my authentic identity in order to conform.
Or adapt to the Eurocentric society around me.
Or in other words, code switch. So what is code switching? Well, we didn't know at first either, so we did what any sane person would do. We asked Google. And here's what it had to say. Code switching is the practice of alternating between two or more languages or varieties of language in conversation.
And it is extremely important. It allows us to exist in multiple different spaces when needed. It gives us the ability to converse and relate to different people, both physically and linguistically. There are over 6,000 different languages in the world. That's 6,000 different ways to express yourself. However, when code switching becomes the only way in which a person can exist, and sometimes the difference between life and death, it leads to the suppression of identity.
Like how I would scrape the wax off the crayon.
Or how I felt I need to take down my braids in order to fit in. You see, when you're a person of color, code switching is not always a choice, but a necessity for survival.
When one type of identity is considered the norm and standard, we start to invalidate the nuances of personhood.
We pull out our proper English when speaking to teachers, but when it's just the homies, hellos turn into what's goods, and how are yous turn into how you doings.
We say y'all is improper, but you all is correct. We say sagging pants make it look like you're going to rob a bank, but belted ones make it look like you own the bank. We say a silk do-rag makes you look like a thug, but a silk tie is all right.
We continue to push people into labeled boxes that they cannot escape until we, as a society, decide to become the liberators.
But here's the thing. Code switching doesn't just refer to language. It can also refer to the way we perceive others' looks and actions. Code switching can be extremely detrimental when people feel like they have to suppress their cultural and physical identities, as presented in the extreme case of skin bleaching, an industry that affects billions of people all over the world.
Because fair skin is seen as more appealing in society today, skin bleaching has become a global epidemic. Skin bleaching is very popular in parts of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, the Caribbean, and Latin America. In the year 2012, India alone used 258 tons of skin lightening cream. By the year 2020, the industry is expected to be worth up to $23 billion. You may ask, why does this matter? It's not popular here in America.
Well, let's bring in Google again. Historically, we found that discrimination based on one's skin color has led to systemic inequality in both social treatment and employment. It has even been documented as one of the factors in U.S. prison sentencing.
We continue to see things such as children being suspended from school for wearing their natural hair, people being fired from their jobs for simply refusing to cut their dreadlocks, the questioning of one's credibility due to their inability to speak proper English, all because of this idea that one identity is more superior than the rest. If we continue to view things such as lighter skin and straighter hair as more superior in society today, then the suppression of identity will be inevitable.
So how is now the time for change? For hope, to love ourselves for who we are? Well, for one, we can now change the color of our emoji skin. This may not seem like such a big deal, but representation, whether it be a tiny thumbs up on a screen or a woman with a hijab, can mean the world to someone. After all, it is their identity we're talking about here. Now is the time for change, because if not now, when? We have the media, one of the most powerful tools we can use to spread knowledge and understanding, in the palm of our hand. We can use this power to change the way we see ourselves and each other. We must be able to see the value in, yet look beyond the ways different people.
Like he did here with Kevin Durant.
The skill of code switching is extremely complex. Too much can be detrimental, and too little makes it hard to survive. So how is it that we control this skill and use it to our advantage? Well, we've come up with the formula to crack this code. It's called the Central Processing Unit for Code Switching, or CPU. C, does this connect you to the person? P, are you being perceived in the way you want to be perceived? And U, are you staying true to your identity?
No one should ever feel like they have to give up what makes them who they are in order to exist within society. We are living in times where social, political, and economic constructs are being questioned and challenged on a daily basis.
So let us use this opportunity to question things such as the standard of professionalism, criminalization, and beauty, so that no kid ever feels like their melanin is not beautiful or their kinks and curls are not just as valid as straight hair. And boys and girls like us don't have to feel self-conscious when authentically expressing themselves.
So the next time it comes time for you to give a class presentation, apply for a job, meet with your boo's parents, or if it ever comes time to meet with President Barack Obama, consider CPU. C, does this connect you to the person? P, are you being perceived the way you want to be perceived? And U, are you staying true to your identity?
Thank you.
Are and
and knowing who we are in God is extremely important. In order to maneuver throughout life and make strong decisions, we must know who we are and know what we stand for. I know throughout high school, I was faced with many challenges and many obstacles where I was forced to choose whether or not I was going to make the decision that wouldn't benefit me in the long run, or make the decision that would make me, or that would maintain who I was. You know, we are faced with multiple different opportunities throughout life. As I said, there's a scripture in Jeremiah 1:5 that says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew who you were. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." God knew who we were before we were in our mother's wombs, before we were even a thought. So in order to maintain our identity, or in order to really achieve true success, we must know who we are in God. In order to really get to that bag, we must know who we are in God, because God knew us. God knows us. God knows who we are today. God knows who we will be tomorrow. God knows who we will be in the next 30 years. So it's important for us to maintain our identity in God, so that way we don't fall for anything. My grandmother used to say, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. So stand strong in who you are, and know that God loves you, and God knows who you need to be and who you can be. Thank you. God bless.
It's
knowing who we are and knowing
It's seed time. Yes, that part of the service where everyone can participate. In the Bible, Genesis 8:22, it says, "While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease." The Lord of the harvest. In other words, if you want your needs met according to God's riches and glory, if you want heaven to handle your situation, then you must operate in this heavenly principle. Now, I have a young woman here who she was operating this heavenly principle. You want to elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yes, I have paid my tithes, and so an unexpected money just came, and I was able to pay off the rest of my college tuition. So that worked out really perfectly for me.
Wow, that's what I'm talking about. So you can do that too. Well, here at Mount Zion, we have 3 ways you can give. The first way to give is text the word GIVE to 833-668-2664. We also have Cash App. If you're operating with Cash App, you just put in $ MTZ Assemblies, and that's all capital MTZ. And the last way, you can mail in your checks, not cash, to Mount Zion Assemblies, P.O. Box 7675, Fresno, California 93747. So we encourage you to operate in those heavenly principles and watch God pour out a blessing.